Hey everyone, I'm making another video here showing a very specific procedure that I do when installing a microwave, above the range microwave. One of the problems that I see with the instructions, particularly, not only the like online tips, the online instructions that you see people making videos and companies paying people to make videos for them, but also the official instructions, like you see here. They have you drill this massive hole for the plug, which is all fine and good. The plug is bigger than it appears. If you drill like maybe a inch and a quarter hole, you'll barely get it through, if even, depending on the actual dimensions of the plug. But most of the time you have to drill at least an inch and a half hole. So the problem that I've found, like you see in this instruction template right here, you see that it goes, you're supposed to tape this up on the bottom of the cabinet and then follow the template. And if you look over there next to the M, you'll see 2-inch diameter. That's the plug hole, and it's supposed to be out in the body of the cabinet there. It is nowhere near the wall of the cabinet, and it is just an absolute massive hole right out in the middle of the cabinet. Now, of course, you need to be able to get the plug through there. But the problem is, once you get the plug through there, the only thing going through that hole is the wire. The only thing filling that hole is the wire itself, which is around a quarter, maybe a thick one would be around 3/8 of an inch. The 2-inch hole is just sitting there, and especially if you drill it in the middle of the cabinet, you've effectively just stolen cabinet space. And I see this all the time. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is that the bottom of most cabinets are hollow, meaning there's a gap between the frame and the actual bottom of the bottom shelf or the bottom panel. You've usually got about a 3/4 inch. Yeah, I'd say about 3/4 inch on most cabinets. And there's several reasons for that. Number one, everything sags, and it would look really bad if it was all the way at the bottom. But mainly it's because otherwise there would be a lip inside the cabinet if they dropped that down. But regardless of reasoning, the bottom of the cabinets typically have that void there, and that becomes really convenient for under the cabinet microwaves because it's a place to put all the excess cord, and it means you can drill the hole, or cut the hole, I should say, anywhere in the cabinet that you want. Now, most of the time everything's on the right side, but you can cut it, if your outlet is over on the left side of the cabinet for whatever reason, you could cut it over there. Most of the microwave cords are long enough to be able to accommodate that. But you see here in the cabinet, you can see this cabinet exploded diagram. You can see the rabbit hole, the rabbited grooves, I should say. We're kind of jumping down the rabbit hole here, aren't we? The rabbited grooves for the top and the bottom, which are typically identical, so you can flip it over if you want. They're a ways away from the actual end of the cabinet, or the top or the bottom of the cabinet. So yeah, unless you have a lot of money to spare for solid bottom cabinets that come from the factory, in which case you probably got some fancy schmancy range hood over top of your microwave. But if we're talking regular cabinets, even very expensive cabinets, they're gonna have this void at the bottom. So there's no reason whatsoever to drill out in the middle of your cabinet bottom for that plug hole. So I see it all the time. I've got a few examples here. This one's not so bad, but they've got all the excess cord pulled up. You've got this guy. This guy just drilled it right inside the cabinet. He's just like, screw it. I don't understand. This was, by the way, this was official. Who was that? Whirlpool, I think, or GE, one of the two. This was their official installation instructions. That guy is doing it per the instructions, and this was posted on their website. This company right here, I don't know who this was, but they're doing it right, at least closer to right. They have you drill it back toward the back of the cabinet so that your cord isn't in your face as soon as you open the cabinet door. And this is the other side of that installation. And you can see that he drilled his hole as small as possible. That looks like a pretty thick cord. That's probably 3/8 of an inch in diameter. But you can see this right here. This is GE or Whirlpool or something, and they're having you cut 1.5 inch hole in the middle of the cabinet. This guy's actually covering up the hole with his mounting bracket, and then you can see he drilled another one up toward the face of the cabinet. And those are nice cabinets too. He just ruined that entire cabinet. This guy did the same thing. You can see the hole where he's got the mic. Now look at the length of that cord. He acts like he's short on length for the cord. There's enough cord there to plug in all the way in the opposite corner. He doesn't have to have that hole right above where it comes out of the microwave. So I've got a diagram here. It's not to scale. Diagram here of a cabinet. If you look at it from the top down, and if there was no top, we've got the back side face there clearly labeled, and you're looking at the bottom panel there. What most of these guys seem to want you to do is drill a massive hole right there in your cabinet, which effectively renders everything around that useless because, biggest problem is the cord's going to be in the way to be able to store much of anything where that cord is. Another thing is you've got this massive hole in a cabinet that drops down into no man's land for stuff to just sit on your microwave. You've got little bits and pieces that you store up there, or if a bag of macaroni or something rips open, and normally you could just sweep it out of there, but no, you've got this massive hole and you've got a bunch of macaroni that's going to be stuck for God knows how long on top of your microwave. Here's what I do. I'll show it in the diagram first. So you start off with your blank slate and you drill a small hole, the exact diameter of the microwave cord, whether it be 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, I don't know. You'd have to measure it. It's going to depend on your microwave. And you drill it back toward the back, not all the way to the back. Usually stay about 3/4 to an inch away from the back panel, and about 5 or 6 inches from the side. But you drill that hole straight down from the top. That's another thing. A lot of those instructions said drill from the bottom. You're gonna blow out the veneer on the top of of the bottom panel of your cabinet, and it's just gonna be terrible. So do every cutting from the top. It doesn't matter if you blow out the bottom of the cabinet because no one's gonna see it. You drill this hole, size of your cable. Then you make 2 straight cuts using a multi-tool. I do it just the width of the blade. Doesn't have to be any bigger. Typical blades, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. You don't want to make it any smaller than that, but 1.25 inches will work just fine. And the order in which you do these cuts doesn't really matter either, but these 2 are straight cuts, and then these 2 are beveled cuts. And again, you use the multi-tool, and you cut those down. And what that does is it creates a plug that allows you to pull the cord through and then replace the plug back with that little hole you drilled snapped around your cord. I've got a video kind of demonstrating this. I'll show you that right now. Here's a mock-up of a cabinet that I made just out of some scrap plywood I had laying around, and here's a computer cable. one thing you want to do is measure the cable to the microwave. It's going to be roughly this size, a 1/4 inch, but you want to measure yours just in case it's a little thicker. And you want to get a drill bit that matches that size. And I'm going to try to do everything in this mock-up the same way I would in an actual cabinet. So you see the back and the sides there. Now, I usually do not, take a square and mark it up. I don't usually do that just because it's not imperative that this be perfect, and you can kind of eyeball it. Even in the shorter cabinets, you can see enough to tell whether or not you're square. If not, maybe you want to do something like this, but I made the square very big here. I don't know why. I end up not following it. What you want to do is go the width of your multi-tool blade. So anyway, you want to stay about 5-6 inches away from the side and about 3/4 to an inch away from the back when you drill this hole that's the same size as your cord. So you drill this hole right here and punch all the way through, make sure it's cleaned up and everything. And then you're going to go at it with your multi-tool. And you're going to have to change the blade to angle that makes it more conducive. So you can do the back, left side, and front cut with the blade angled the way I have it here. The other side, you'll have to flip it around to the other side, and I'll show you why. So you turn it on. Oh, and I screw up here. This is one of the reasons why I like working alone when someone's watching me, even apparently a camera. It seems like I have the worst luck, or I don't think of things that I normally do. Like, I don't know, check the blade, make sure that most of the teeth are there. So I do have several jump cuts, so you don't have to watch me cut through this, but I left this part in to show that, yeah, if you don't want to be frustrated, especially in a tight spot like in a small above the range cabinet, you want to change the blade. Look, oh yeah, that blade's junk. And I jump cut, came back with a decent blade, and so now I punch through. So you can see I'm not anywhere near my line there, but I'm coming in at an angle for this side cut, and that's going to keep the piece that I cut out, the square that I cut out, that's going to make it to where it can act as a plug because I'm cutting it at an angle. Did a jump cut there for your consideration. And I can do that cut as well. Now you're going to be possibly dealing with the face frame, and you're going to have to kind of stick your head in there, depending on how small the cabinet is. So you want to get some decent lighting. You want to make sure you have a good blade. But that is a square cut there. You want to go as straight down as possible. Now this cut right here is not going to be able to be made with the blade in this position. So you got to flip it around, and you'll be able to cut it in the other position. And you want to make sure it's locked in pretty well. I think later, a couple minutes later, I keep nudging my little makeshift tripod there too. But you cut it down. You want to make sure that everything's cut pretty solid. You might have to go back through and chase a couple cuts. It's not uncommon, but you can see this isn't really taking very long. I'm not really busting my ass. Uh, yeah, you can see there me trying to do impossible cuts. Yeah, that way's not going to work. It's just not going to follow the angle. I I can't put the multi-tool through the side of the cabinet either. And you want to make sure it's locked in properly. So you want to chase your cuts. You can kind of push on it and feel where stuff is. And looky there, I gotta flip the blade around again. Might be better to not do what I did here and just make sure the cut was good the first time around. But it's not that big a deal if you have to go back and chase a cut again. And you just pop it through. I got a little bit of uncut veneer there, but that's no problem. It's the bottom of the cabinet. That's why you cut from the top, so you don't have as much marring on the top. Who cares about the bottom? Because you're gonna have a microwave there anyway. So you get your microwave when it goes to install. You want to double check, make sure that clips around there nice and snug. I like it snug because the cord and the plug kind of hold each other. So when you're installing the microwave, you want to, one thing I don't show here is you want to pull all the slack out of it as you're tilting the microwave in. You want to make sure that you're getting all the cord up above. You can always tuck it back in later, but then you clip the plug around the hole there and plug it in. You leave it loose. You don't glue it down, because should you ever need to service that microwave or you want to install a new one, you want to be able to get that plug out. And it'll just sit back there with gravity. If you want it to be a little more flush, because it will sit a little beneath the surface at this point, you can take a piece of shim and glue it on one side, or you can glue a piece on both sides, kind of make up for the kerf of the multi-tool blade there, and that'll help it sit a little flush. But most of the time I kind of skip that step. You're going to have little gaps in it, but it's not going to allow anything to fall down on top of the microwave. So there you go. And now, an alternative to that, if you've already got the hole, or if you don't have access to a multi-tool, or if that seems like too much work, but you still want to either drill the hole toward the back of the cabinet, but you still want to cover it up with something, or if you've already got a hole there and you don't want stuff falling on top of your microwave, one thing you can do is go pick up some of these pretty inexpensive plastic nylon locking hole plugs, they call them, or plastic plugs. If you just look for that, you'll find similar things. And you see it's got a lip on it. You want to get it for the exact size hole that you have, or that you're going to drill. Then you just modify it with a couple of side cutters or some shears and a drill bit. So you would drill it the same way I showed to drill the cabinet, off to the side, the same diameter as your cord. And then what you want to do to be able to get the cord through there is you want to take some cutters of some sort. Maybe scissors would work, but I'd just use a pair of side cutters and trim up the side and the lip there, so that you're able to slide the cord in there. And then you can just pop this thing down into the hole and you don't have to worry about anything going through there. So again, I hope that helped some people out, or gave you some ideas, whatever. But don't just blindly follow those instructions. For the most part, I've got no problem with the instructions that I've seen, other than that one thing. There's plenty of cord and plenty of space. By the way, you want to tuck all your excess cord down on top of the microwave. You just need enough to come out and casually bend into the outlet. You don't need to loop it up into your cabinet. It can sit on top of the microwave. It's not going to cause any problems. And by the way, you may ask, I don't know, someone may ask, anyone that watches this video, why does he make these videos? Really, these are comments to people when I have a conversation, or if I make a comment to somebody that I talk to online. Sometimes it's just easier to show them what I'm talking about. And I'm really just kind of uploading videos to say, here, watch this, instead of trying to explain it in text form. So this is out to a single person, or maybe a couple of people, but if someone else watches it and finds it useful for whatever reason, all the better. So again, I hope find it useful. If not, leave me a comment, and everyone have a good day.